Wellness Rhythm Show. Find your rhythm. Live your wellness.
Y'all, quick question. When was the last time you ate something that came in a package with more than 5 ingredients and felt genuinely fine about it?
That's a trap, Emma, because I suspect the honest answer for most of our listeners is today, probably this morning.
Exactly. And here's the thing, though. There is so much noise around ultra-processed foods right now. Some of it legitimate, some of it fear-mongering dressed up as science.
Right. And what's striking is a 2024 umbrella review published in the British Medical Journal, covering over 9 million people across 45 meta-analyses, found associations between ultra-processed food consumption and 32 different health outcomes. Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, early mortality.
32. That is not a small number.
No, but here's the nuance. Association is not causation. And the category itself is so broad, it creates enormous confusion, which is exactly what we're digging into today.
We're going to sort out what's actually true, what's myth, and, most importantly, what this means for your metabolism right now on a Tuesday when you're packing lunches and trying to get through the week.
So, let's start with definitions because ultra-processed is genuinely misunderstood. The framework most researchers use is called NOVA, developed by Carlos Monteiro and his team at the University of Sao Paulo. It classifies foods into 4 groups based on the extent and purpose of processing.
And NOVA Group 4, the ultra-processed category, is not just food that comes in a bag. That's the myth right there.
Precisely. It's specifically foods manufactured primarily from industrial substances extracted from foods. Things like modified starches, hydrogenated oils, protein isolates, combined with additives for color, flavor, texture, and shelf life. The goal is hyperpalatability and low cost.
So like, a whole grain cracker with 5 recognizable ingredients is not the same as a flavored corn chip engineered to be impossible to stop eating.
Correct. But most people use processed as a blanket term for anything with a label, which means they're either over-restricting perfectly fine foods or completely missing the actual problem.
Okay, this brings us to the metabolism piece, because I think people assume ultra-processed foods affect your weight. Full stop. But it's more complicated than that, right?
Much more. There's a fascinating study from Kevin Hall's team at the National Institutes of Health, a controlled inpatient trial published in Cell Metabolism in 2019. Participants eating an ultra-processed diet consumed, on average, 500 more calories per day than the whole food group, spontaneously, without being told to overeat.
Wait, without trying to overeat?
Without trying. The researchers matched the diets for presented calories, sugar, fat, sodium, fiber, same numbers on paper. Different metabolic response entirely. They concluded it was likely the texture, the speed of consumption, and the way ultra-processed foods disrupt normal satiety signaling.
That is wild, because I have absolutely eaten an entire sleeve of crackers while fully intending to have 3 crackers.
As have most people. That's not a willpower failure. That's food engineering doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Okay, here's where I want to push back a little, though, because I feel like there's a real risk of turning this into another source of food anxiety. And for a lot of our listeners, especially parents, people who are time-strapped, people feeding families on a budget, ultra-processed food is part of the reality. Eliminating it entirely is not realistic.
That's a fair challenge, and I think the research actually supports your position more than the alarmist headlines do. The dose and context matter enormously. A 2023 study in Nature Food found that the health risks associated with ultra-processed foods were significantly mediated by diet quality overall, meaning people who ate mostly whole foods but included some ultra-processed items didn't show the same risk elevation as those for whom UPFs were the dietary foundation.
So the mostly matters more than the never.
The mostly matters enormously. If you're listening and you gave your kid a cereal bar this morning, you have not derailed their metabolism.
Thank you for saying that, because I needed to hear that.
But this brings us to the mechanism that I think is most underappreciated, the gut microbiome. Robert Lustig at UC San Francisco, along with independent research from the Sonnenberg lab at Stanford, has been very clear that the emulsifiers and artificial sweeteners common in ultra-processed foods appear to disrupt the gut lining and alter microbial diversity in ways that have downstream metabolic effects.
So it's not just the calories. It's what's happening in the gut that then affects how your metabolism functions.
Right, and the gut microbiome influences insulin sensitivity, inflammation, even appetite signaling hormones like ghrelin and leptin. So if you're eating in a way that consistently degrades microbial diversity, you're affecting the infrastructure your metabolism runs on.
Okay, and this is where I want to ask. For our listeners who are in that 45 to 65 range, the sandwich generation, people who are also watching their own metabolic health as they age, why does this feel especially important right now?
Because metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between burning carbohydrates and fat efficiently, naturally declines with age. And ultra-processed foods, particularly those high in refined carbohydrates and industrial seed oils, appear to accelerate that decline by promoting chronic, low-grade inflammation. Research from the PREDIMED study, which followed over 7,000 participants in Spain, showed that higher ultra-processed food intake was associated with faster progression toward metabolic syndrome in adults over 50.
So the timing is not insignificant. What you're eating in your 40s and 50s is literally shaping your metabolic baseline for the decades after that.
That's the evidence, yes?
Here's the thing, though. This is where I also want to address the myth that going low-processed has to be expensive, because that one drives me crazy.
Good point. The most accessible whole foods, dried legumes, oats, eggs, frozen vegetables, canned fish, are among the cheapest items in any supermarket. The myth that healthy eating is inherently expensive is partly a marketing artifact from the premium wellness industry.
Canned sardines, David, wildly underrated, cheap, high-protein, anti-inflammatory omega-3s.
Genuinely one of the most nutrient-dense foods per pound sterling, or dollar for Emma's audience, available anywhere.
Okay, practical integration. Let's make this actually useful for a Wednesday morning. What do people actually do with this information?
The most evidence-backed starting point is what researchers call a crowding out strategy rather than elimination. The goal is not to clear your cupboards, it's to add enough whole and minimally processed food that the ultra-processed proportion naturally shrinks.
That is exactly how I think about it. Not, what am I removing, but what am I adding first? Which, by the way, if you've been with us a while, you know that's how I approach most of the nutrition stuff we cover.
And specifically, looking at your highest frequency ultra-processed foods and swapping one at a time. Not everything simultaneously. Start with breakfast. It tends to be the meal most dominated by ultra-processed options. Sweetened cereals, flavored yogurts, pastries, and also the most impactful metabolically given its effect on blood sugar for the rest of the day.
Speaking of breakfast, y'all, this would be a great time to hit that like and subscribe button if you're finding this useful. It genuinely helps us reach more people who are trying to sort through all the noise. We appreciate every single one of you.
And if you're suspicious of us and want to verify the research before subscribing, we respect that entirely.
We do actually.
Let's talk about label reading for a moment because this is where people often get stuck. The NOVA framework isn't something you find on a nutrition label, but there are practical proxies. If the ingredient list contains emulsifiers like carrageenan or polysorbate 80, artificial flavor compounds, or multiple forms of sugar listed under different names, you're in ultra-processed territory.
I have genuinely started flipping things over before I buy them. Not to achieve some perfect standard, but just to stay informed.
That habit alone is protective, not because you'll reject everything, but because awareness changes the frequency of choices over time.
Okay, and the skepticism angle. Because some people will say, look, humans have been processing food for 10,000 years. Bread is processed, cheese is processed. Is this all just orthorexic panic dressed up in research papers?
That's the legitimate critique, and it's important. Traditional food processing, fermentation, culturing, drying, milling, often enhances nutrient availability and creates beneficial compounds. That is categorically different from industrial manufacturing that strips fiber, adds back synthetic vitamins, and engineers palatability at a neurological level. The NOVA framework doesn't condemn processing, it distinguishes between types of processing. Critics of the framework, including some food scientists like David Klurfeld at the USDA, argue it conflates too many disparate products. That's a valid methodological debate, but the epidemiological signal across millions of people is consistent enough that dismissing it seems unwise.
Agreed. You can hold the nuance and take the signal seriously. Those two things coexist.
Precisely.
All right. If you're walking away with one thing today, let it be this. Ultra-processed food is not a moral failing, and it is not a binary choice. The research is asking you to look at the proportion and frequency over time, not to feel guilty about Tuesday's lunch.
And the single most practical move, genuinely, is to audit your breakfast this week. It's the highest leverage meal for metabolic impact, and it's often where ultra-processed options have crept in quietly. One substitution there is more valuable than a complete overhaul you abandon in a fortnight.
Y'all, this stuff matters, not because wellness has to be perfect, but because your metabolism is working hard for you every single day, and it deserves a little support. We're rooting for you.
And if this episode gave you anything useful, even a slight reconsideration of your breakfast cereal, that's a worthwhile 45 minutes, or however long our episodes actually run.
Until next time, take care of yourselves, realistically and kindly.
Brilliant. Take care.
This show is part of the VoxCrea.ai system. If you want a show like this for your organization, without building it yourself,
Go to voxcrear.ai and request a sample episode.